Hello, everyone. Hello, friends and family. My name is Joel Osebo, and I am the host of the Wholeness Project. The Wholeness Project is a four-pillar driven program and event that helps to provide what I call strategies, interventions, and techniques that can help individuals, help families, help couples and organizations to restore wholeness and renewed focus in every area of their lives. And this is the second episode. Last Monday I introduced the Wholeness Project, just talking about how beneficial this project is to helping you regain wholeness in every area of your life and also renewed focus. We are living in such a challenging time in our lives, and there's so much pressure going on out there, work related, business related, family related, relationship related, not to even talk about your own personal struggles when it comes to your challenges, your doubts, your fears, your trauma, and all of those complex situations that drives us crazy as people. But with the Wholeness Project, the goal is every week in and out, we'll be sharing great tips that is going to help you, be better, be a better human being, be a better husband, a better wife, a better child, be a better employee and a better employer. So that's what the Wholeness Project is all about. And so today we are going to be talking about a very interesting and unique subject that perhaps I'll say it's across our lifespans as human beings. We go through different challenges, we go through different struggles that leads us to what I call a big stress. We all go through some form of stress, as whether relationship stress, financial stress, business stress, career stress, caregiving stress, economic stress, political stress. So stress seems to be one of those challenges and struggles that we face as human beings. And so today I'm going to be sharing with us on some practical tips, to manage stress. Like, is my custom. I always want to present so that we can gain lots of thoughts and information that will help us to win and to be very successful in every area of our lives. I want to encourage you, please, you can share this with your friends. You can invite your friends to join us on Facebook, Joel Osebo One, on YouTube, and also on Instagram. This Wholeness Project is streaming live at this time, and there's going to be a replay of it sometime in the week. So you feel free to just share with anybody. So, like I said, I'm going to be sharing on quick practical tips on how to manage stress in today's world, in all the things that we are going through. And quickly, what I want to do first, this is going to be the remit I'll be following, kind of just doing some grounding exercise, sharing some techniques, some tips, and how we can really overcome stress in our lives. And also, quickly, if you can join me, I want us to do what I call a quick grounding exercise. It's called grounding technique, especially when you're dealing with situations and you're dealing with tough challenges, whether it's relationship, work. This is one technique you can always use to overcome them. So quickly, let's do this. I want you to look around you, with your eyes open, look around your environment. And then if every time you feel tense, you just want to be grounded. You want to be in the moment, because what stress does to us, stress makes us to be thinking about multiple things at the same time. And it can be very overwhelming. But this technique and this exercise is going to help you overcome those stressful situations. So one thing, what I want you to do quickly is this. What are the 5 things you can see around you? And you need to name that quickly if you can. What are the 5 things you can see around you? I see quite a lot of things here that I can name 5 things. Secondly, what are the 4 things that you can touch? When you're doing this exercise, when you're practicing these grounding techniques, it helps you to be in the moment. It helps you to deal with situations that you are dealing with quickly. So the other one is, what are the 3 things that you can hear? There are so many noise around you. Until you zero in into one specific thing, you might be stressed in a lot of in so many areas of your life. So what are those 3 things that you can hear? Then also, what are those two things that you can smell? What two things can you smell around you? I know if you are not in the kitchen area, this might be challenging for you to quickly pick the two things that you are smelling. Then also, the last one here is, what is that one thing that you love about yourself? When we are dealing with stressful situation, it can be very challenging to to know that we must love ourselves. I might be dealing with a lot of tough challenges, but I should never speak down on me. I should never talk down on me. And so this technique is going to help you a lot of the time for you to deal with stressful situation. All right, quickly. So we're talking about stress and some practical tips that you and I can use to deal with stress. So the question is, what is stress? Every one of us have a definition of what stress is, but stress is the natural response to perceived demands or threats. So, in other words, it is not always bad. We can be stressed because it's a natural demand. The demand for family, from your spouse, from your boss, from your customers, from your clients. It is natural because our body will always respond to things that we perceive that it is excessive demand or it is becoming a threat. But where stress becomes very problematic is this: when it is chronic or unrelenting. That is, it keeps happening over and over and over and over again. It's going to cause the body to break. Then also when it becomes disproportionate to the situation. So with the stress you are dealing with, when you do not have the capacity to handle it, the situation or demand that you're dealing with, when it becomes something you cannot handle, it becomes very stressful. Then also stress can arise when you cannot manage it or when you do not have the support that you need to manage those stressful situations. You know what? That you are alive, that I'm alive, we are going to face stressful situations always. But you know what? We can always win. So quickly, what are the signs of stress in our lives? What are the signs of stress? There are three areas we're going to briefly look at. One of them is physical sign, the second one is emotional sign, and the third one is behavioral sign. By physical signs of stress is you're going to be fatigued. People are fatigued. They have headaches. They have tension. They have sleep issues. These are physical signs of stress. Then the emotional signs of stress include anxiety, irritability. You become easily irritated, overwhelmed, you have low mood. These are the signs of emotional stress. Then the last one is behavioral stress. When you are under stress, when people are under stress, they begin to withdraw from the things they love to do. They withdraw from friends, withdraw from going out, then poor concentration, then appetite changes. You see people begin to overeat or undereat. Then it begins to cause what we call the eating disorder. So if you're dealing with any of this situation, this program, this project is going to provide you with the practical tips for you to manage stress. Stress will always be part of our human existence. There will be things that will make a lot of demands on you. There will be things that will be threatening to you. But once you understand the signs of all of these things, you can effectively manage them. And also, this is what I call the stress circle. The stress cycle, what is it about? The things that actually makes you experience stress in a very heavy way. One is feelings. So it's a cycle. Your feelings are very important when it comes to the issue of managing stress. One is that when you are anxious, when there's a fear of dread, it can bring stress. And the other part is thoughts. When it becomes too much, when you begin to think that the demands and the threats that are around you are too much, it becomes a stressful situation. Then in terms of behaviors, when you begin to avoid things, you begin to postpone things, you begin to procrastinate, then you face a lot of stressful situations. So this is the stress cycle. So anytime you're thinking about stress, your feelings, your thoughts, and your behaviors matter. So every time your thought, that's why it's important that when it comes to what we call the CBT, the cognitive behavioral theory, we can't always change the situation, but we can change how we think about it, which changes how we feel and what we do. So now I want you to put this into practice. Like I said, we're sharing practical tips on how to manage and overcome stress. So you may never change a lot of situations around you. We may never change situations around us, but what we can do is this: we can change the way we think. When you change the way you think, then it's going to impact how you feel, then also how the actions that you take. So now, quickly, that's what we call the change challenging unhelpful thoughts. I need you to know that every time you do not challenge those thoughts that are not going to be helpful to you, they are going to give you a lot of stress. Some quick question to to challenge your thought. What is the evidence that this thought is true? Not true. Because a lot of the time, the thing that causes us stress, there's a result of how we are thinking about a demand, about a threat, or about a situation. So you want to ask yourself, this particular situation, is it the truth? Is it not the truth? Because if you're able to provide a clear answer to them, then you will manage whatever stressful situation is going to come out of that. Am I catastrophizing this situation? Was it worse that I could realistically that could realistically happen? So, in other words, there are some situation in your life you're already thinking that the worst is going to come out of it. It can lead to stressful situation. What will I tell a good friend in this situation? So, when you're dealing with a situation, what are you going to tell people about it? Then is this a fact or an interpretation? A lot of the times we interpret situations that causes us to be stressed out. Someone can say something, and if you do not ask for clarification, the way you interpret it can cause you a lot of stress. But I want to let you know, through this project, the Wholeness Project, you're gonna get a lot of tips, techniques, and strategies that will help you to process what people are saying. You don't need to conclude on what somebody has said. Ask for further clarification. Don't assume. We always say that assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Never assume what people are thinking or saying. Try to clarify from them, because if we don't, it will always cause us stressful situation. So let's go to the next slide and see what we have here. That's what we call the sporting thinking traps. There's a way we think that traps us and leads to stress. Like I said, if we change, you cannot change the situation, but you can change the way you think. When you change the way you think, then it's going to influence your feelings. And when your feelings are influenced, it will impact your actions, the things you do. And these thought traps are very important for you to take note of. One of the thought trap is what we call all or nothing. What people say in this space is, if it's not perfect, it's a total failure. A lot of us are like that. We have that perfectionist mindset nature. It is not bad, but when we begin to think that if things don't go the way we want it, the way we planned it, then it's a total failure. That is what we call an all or nothing thinking traps. It traps you and it brings that individual into a place of stress. The other thought trap is what we call catastrophizing. What does it mean? This small mistake will ruin everything. When you think that you made a little error, you did something that ought not to have done, but you just conclude that it's going to ruin everything. It's going to lead to a lot of stressful situation for you. There's another one which a lot of us will do. I do that sometimes. Mind reading. You try to read the minds of people, or you say things like, I know they think I'm incompetent. You're trying to conclude on what people are not even thinking about you. We call that mind reading, and it can lead to what we call thinking traps that leads to stress. Then there's another one called overgeneralization. By overgeneralization, you hear people will say to themselves, I always mess things up, especially when it doesn't go the way they thought they should go. No, don't say that to yourself. When you say that to yourself, you always will cause a lot of stress. You will be under pressure. Another one is emotional reasoning. I feel overwhelmed, so I must be failing. No, it's a feeling. Don't forget, we said feeling is not a fact until you label it. That you are overwhelmed, you are tired, that you're stressed out, that things didn't work out doesn't mean that you are failing. Every time we do that emotional reasoning, we put ourselves under stress. Then also the last one is what we call the should statement. I should be able to handle this perfectly. Sometimes, no, we might not be able to handle a lot of things perfectly. So what we're saying, these sporting thinking traps, if we do not guard our minds, our hearts, and our thoughts against them, they will lead us to a lot of stress. Now, quickly, I want to talk about behavioral activation. What I mean by behavioral activation, especially when you're under stress, when you are doing when you're going through a stressful moment from marriage, from family, from business, even concerning spirituality, there are some things that happens to you. You want to stop doing things that helps you feel good. A lot of the times, because you are so stressed, you are so burnt out, then we just lose interest in a lot of things, which will make your stress worse. So there are two things I want us to look at. What stress causes to you? It causes you to spiral down. And what behavioral activation will do to you? It activates the circle. Number one, when you are stressed, you feel overwhelmed. And so what you want to do, you don't want to do a lot of exciting things. When you are stressed, you feel withdrawal. You want to cancel plans. You don't want to go out on a date. You don't want to visit anyone because you are feeling stressed. You want to do less activity and connection. You don't want to engage in relationship because you've been heartbroken, you've been disappointed, someone has said things that you don't have said. You feel worse, you feel even more hopeless, and you want to do a lot of things less. It is understandable. That is what stress does to us. But if we are not careful, it's going to spiral us down. It will keep you down and lead to what I call depression. And when you get to the place of what we call major depressive disorder, people become suicidal. And that's what we don't want you to get to. We don't want people to get to the point where they become suicidal. And so we encourage what I call behavioral activation. What do we want you to do? Schedule one small, meaningful activity. Like I said, we're going to be sharing practical tips. And so when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling burnt out, instead of just trying to be all by yourself, schedule one meaningful activity to do. Do it even when you don't feel like it, especially when you are truly overwhelmed. Notice even small shift in mood. So when you just notice a time to laugh, a time to smile, take advantage of that. Then build on that momentum. Do that stuff over and over again. Then you know what? You'll see that your mood will improve. Every time we are under stress, we are under duress from work, from family, from business, from different circumstances and situations in our life, it impacts our mood. But through behavioral activation, we are able to do quite a lot of things together. And so quickly, I'm going to be sharing another tip under what I call the dialectic behavioral therapy. The first one, the tips that I shared in the first one, the techniques, the strategies, and the interventions that I shared, they are to help you manage stress, no matter what those stress are, work related, relationship related, business related. The first cognitive behavioral therapy skills that I shared will help you. And if you're just joining me, I want to thank you. This is the Wholeness Project, a weekly live broadcast that I just share on tips that will help families, help individuals, help organizations to restore wholeness and have renewed focus to achieve their goals and purposes in life. And so for the DBT skills, if you want to manage stress, there are few things I want you to look at. There are four things. There's what I call mindfulness, observing without judgment, because a lot of the time what leads to stressful moment in our life is we judge things before we truly understand what they are. So if you want to be out of stress, you want to manage stress better, learn to observe things without judging, clarify. Then the other part of DBT is what we call distress tolerance, how you can survive crisis without making things worse. A lot of the times when pressure comes, they come in form of crisis. But because we don't know how to manage those crises, we don't know how to tolerate those distresses, we make a lot of errors and a lot of mistakes. But with these skills, you find out that you will be able, you'll be able to deal with them without making them worse. Then another great skill that you're going to be learning in this session is what I call emotion regulation. By emotion regulation, I'm going to show you how you can understand and manage emotional intensity. In other words, when you are under stress, when you are under pressure, the challenges for your emotion to spiral out of control is very high. But with emotion regulation, you will be able to manage a lot of the stressful moment that you encounter. Then lastly, I'm going to be sharing on what I call interpersonal effectiveness, how to ask for needs, set limits, and keep relationship. When we are stressed, when we are burnt out, the chances for us to not to ask for help is there. The chances for us to set, not to even put boundaries in place can be there. And also we can distort and hurt a lot of our relationships. But with these skills, I'm going to be sharing with you practical tips that can help you manage stress, putting these skills to work. The first skill I want to share with you is what I call tip. With tip, you can manage crisis and you can be able to tolerate tough situation. That's what we call the tip. When your emotions are overwhelmed, when you don't know what to do, using this tip can help you to manage pressure and manage stress. So the first T stands for temperature. What it means: splash cold water on your face or hold ice. And when you do this, it activates the dive reflex, showing your heart rate rapidly, slowing your heart rate rapidly. What that means is when you are tense, when you are under pressure, when you are stressed, just put cold water, pour cold water, take cold shower, step out into a cold situation, or you can even take a bag of peas or a bag of fruits in your freezer that is very cold, put it across your face, and you know what? It's going to drop, or it will slow your heart rate, because when you are stressed, when you are angry, when your emotions are all over the place, you feel like hurting someone, you feel like harming someone. But when you do that, put that cold stuff on your face, you are able to deal with the situation better. Then also intense exercise. You can quickly do what we call a 10 to 60 seconds of vigorous movement. It can be jumping jacks, it could be running in place. This will help you burn off the stress hormones that is actually triggering that anger and that stressful situation. You can do what we call paced breathing in 4 count. You breathe in 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you exhale for another 4 seconds. I tell you, you will be able to manage that stressful situation. Then that's what we call progressive muscle relaxation, where you begin to tense, kind of tighten all of the muscles from your feet down to up to your neck, from your feet up to your neck. And those things help to release all of the tensions for when you are dealing with stress and when you're dealing with any emotional situations in your life. Also, there's what we call finding your wise mind. A lot of us, we fall into spectrum. Is that we have the emotion mind or we have the reasonable mind. With the emotion mind, what happens is we are driven by feelings, we are reactive, sometimes we are creative and passionate, but a lot of the times when we're just at that space, we may not be able to, to balance what we are dealing with. And also, if we're reasonable mind, we are very logical and analytical, we are fact focused, we can dismiss feelings, especially us or the feelings of other people. But where the balance is what we call the wise mind. And so how can you assess your wise mind? You pause before reacting. And this is very important for you to manage stress, for you to manage any emotional situation. When before you speak, before you react, pause. Take a pause. Take it. What we say? Take a chill pill. Take a chill pill before you say anything. Take 3 deep breaths. One, two. When you do that, you'll be in a place of calmness. Then you ask, what do I know is true? So the stressor, the things you are dealing with, the situation, you want to ask yourself, is it the truth or is it not true? Then ask, what do I feel? Then combine both and act. When you do this, you assess your wise mind and you are able to make a very good decision. Then another good skill that you can use, a practical skill that you can also use to manage stress, manage pressure, manage emotional situations, is what we call the please skill. It helps to reduce vulnerability to stress. So like I said, stress may be inevitable for everyone, a lot of people, but you can reduce your weaknesses to the stressful situations. And how can you do this? The PL stand for treat physical illness. In other words, don't ignore your body. See a doctor when needed. Take care of your physical health. So because when people are stressed, when people are burnt out, when people are emotionally drained, it impacts their physical body. Don't ignore the signs your body is giving to you. See a doctor. We encourage that. See a doctor. Then E start for balanced eating. Like I said, when you are stressed, when people are burnt out, when you are dealing with emotional troubles and struggles, your tendency to eat is reduced or is heightened. But be very careful when you're dealing with stress. Watch what you eat, but make sure you eat regularly. Make sure those meals, they are nourished meal, and avoid skipping meal when you are stressed. It can worsen your mood, because a lot of the times many people don't want to eat when they are going through stress. Then also avoid uttering substances when people are stressed, when people are emotionally drained. You know what? We take to alcohol. People start drinking, people start using drugs, people start using different things just to, kind of forget what they are dealing with. But we call these are short-term help, but it can also increase your anxiety and lower your ability to, have that comeback. Then also have a lot of balanced sleep. Prioritize 7 to 9 hours, because when you deprive yourself of sleep, it amplifies your emotional reactivity. Then lastly, as part of the practical exercise you can do to manage stress is exercise. Even 20 minutes of movement reduce your cortisol and release mood boosting endorphins. So these are very practical steps for you to manage stress. And I want to encourage you, you can come back again to all the channels on Facebook, Joel Sebo, Instagram, Joel Sebo, and YouTube to watch this video. And you're going to see quite a lot of practical tips that is going to help you to overcome stress in your life. And also, when you get these are just basic mini body scan meditation you can do every time you are dealing with stress. When you're dealing with stress, don't do anything. Like I said, assess your wise mind, and after you assess your wise mind, you can do what this mini body scan meditation. And how do you do that? You close your eyes, you soften your gaze, you take 3 slow breaths, you feel your feet on the floor, you slowly bring attention to your feet, notice any sensations. I'm telling you, when you do this step by step, you move your attention through your legs, your stomach, your chest, you notice everything that is going on around those areas of your body. Then you bring awareness to your shoulder, your neck, your face. Then you let your jaw unclench, let your shoulders drop. Then you take a full breath in and slowly release. You open your eyes when ready and notice how you feel. You see, doing these practical exercises will help you. This mini body scan will help you to release all the tensions that comes from every stress that you are dealing with. All right, great. Quickly, I want to share this before because we're gradually coming to the end of the program. Your coping skill, your personal coping skill toolkit. This is going to help you. Every time you are dealing with stress, you are dealing with emotional situations that are so intense, I want you to use this toolkit. They are going to work for you. There are mind-based toolkits by journaling your thought, your gratitude list, your reading and learning, then your thought records. They will help you. When it comes to your body-based toolkit, whether you're walking, you're doing yoga, you're doing meditation, you're doing progressive muscle relaxation, you're doing cold water on your face. I've shared a lot of tips on that. You're dancing or you're stretching out. This can help you. Then some of your toolkit again, calm seeking. You can do box breathing. You can do nature time. You can go out on sunlight. You can listen to soothing music. You can do warm bath or shower. This is going to help you relieve the emotional tension and the stress that you're feeling. Then in terms of connection, you can call a trusted friend. You can be part of a group or a community. You can help someone else. You can even spend time with your pet or animal at any time. All of this personal coping toolkit will help you overcome any manner of stress or emotional struggle that you're having in your place of work, in your family, or with yourself. Then also, I want us to quickly share on when stress becomes too much, seek for support. Don't just do it by yourself. Seek for support. It is a sign of strength, not weakness. Ask for help. A lot of people don't want to see a therapist. A lot of people don't want to see a coach. Culturally speaking, a lot of people don't want to talk to others about their business. It is understandable, but you can't do it by yourself. We've heard and seen people who passed on because they didn't seek support. So we encourage you to seek for support. And what are those signs you need to look at before you seek for support? When your stress becomes pertinent, when you're unable to function at home or at work, when you're using substance to cope, when you're feeling hopelessness, if you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling trapped, you're withdrawing from everyone you care about, and you have thoughts of harming yourself, it is time to seek for support. And we're here to provide that support. At FGI Coaching with Joel Sebo, I'm telling you, you are going to get the support that you need to deal with every situations and circumstances that you may be dealing with. Then how do you seek for help? There are different types of help that are available through trusted friends, family, community, seeing a counselor or a therapist that can help provide some of those techniques you need, seeing a general practitioner, a doctor, calling the crisis helpline, support group, whether they're in person or online, or engaging with in your organization's employee assistance program. All of these are good support platforms that can help you manage stress or manage any emotional challenges that you may be having. Just a quick reflection and commitment. It is important that you pay attention to yourself. You pay attention to your emotions, your feelings, and your thoughts. A lot of things you can going to be out of your control. Your work, your relationship, your family. There's so many things you may not be able to control. But one of the some things that you can control your thoughts. When you manage your thought, it impacts your feelings. And when your feelings are impacted, it will drive your actions. So I want you to do something for me this week or anytime you watch this video. What is one insight that you're going to carry from what I have shared with you today? Then what is one skill that you're going to practice? Because it's important that when you practice this skill, they help you to manage stress and emotional challenges. Then also, who will you share these practical tips with? It is important because when you share knowledge with other people, you are able to reinforce the things that you learn every day. And so I want to thank you again for just being part of, you know, today's Wholeness Project. Don't forget this. You must challenge your thoughts. Are they the facts or it's just stories? Don't forget, use tip and pace breathing in moment of crisis. Your wise mind is always accessible. So balance emotional mind, reasonable mind, you get into your wise mind. Practice, please, to protect your emotional health. You are never alone. Reach out to someone when needed. Anytime. You can join me every week, 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time Zone for the Wholeness Project, where I'll be sharing, like I said, a lot of strategies, a lot of interventions and tips that can help you regain wholeness. And also, if you want to speak to a coach, you want me to walk with you on your journey of wholeness. It has to do with your personal mental health, your relationship, your marriage, your family, even your organization. We'll be glad to walk with you because we believe in your wholeness. Until we meet again, same time next week. 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, where I'm going to be sharing another strategy, another tip, and another intervention for you to for you to have restored wholeness and to have renewed focus in your goals and purpose in life. Thank you. It's Joel Osebo again. Bye for now.